David and Victoria Beckham had always known their eldest son, Brooklyn, had a restless spirit. From photography to cooking, he had dabbled in many interests, searching for his true passion. But nothing had prepared them for his latest endeavor, one that left them deeply worried. It started subtly, as most of Brooklyn's pursuits did. A casual conversation over Sunday dinner, a passing remark about wanting more adventure in his life. David, sipping his wine, had raised an eyebrow. Adventure? He had repeated. Like what, skydiving? Deep-sea diving? Brooklyn had laughed. Nah, Dad. Something bigger. Victoria had felt a familiar pang of concern. She had seen that spark in her son's eyes before, the same spark that led him to switch careers every other year. But this time, there was an intensity that unsettled her. 2 weeks later, the truth came out. Brooklyn had decided to become a stuntman. A shocking revelation. Victoria nearly dropped her teacup when he made the announcement. A stuntman? She had repeated, as if saying the word out loud would somehow make it disappear. David, sitting beside her in their London home, leaned forward. Brooklyn, mate, are you serious? Brooklyn nodded enthusiastically. Completely. I've been training for weeks, learning from professionals. Victoria shook her head, her perfectly manicured fingers tightening around her phone. But why? You were happy cooking. And before that, photography. Why this? Brooklyn sighed, as if he had expected their reaction. Mum, Dad, I need excitement in my life. I love food and art, but I want to push my limits. This is real. Adrenaline, risk, skill. It's like football for you, Dad. The rush, the passion. David exhaled, rubbing his chin. He understood the thrill of pushing oneself to the edge, but this? Stunt work was dangerous. It wasn't just about a rush. It was about life and death. Victoria, however, wasn't having it. Do you even understand how dangerous this is? People get seriously injured. Some don't even survive. Brooklyn gave her a reassuring smile. Mum, I'll be careful. She turned to David, expecting backup. Say something. David hesitated. He wanted to tell Brooklyn how reckless this idea was, how he'd spent his whole life protecting him, only to watch him voluntarily throw himself into harm's way. But at the same time, he saw a fire in Brooklyn's eyes, a determination he hadn't seen before. Look, son, he said carefully, I get wanting a challenge. But you need to understand the risks. This isn't just a phase. Stunt work is brutal. Brooklyn nodded. I know. That's why I'm training with the best. A mother's fears. Victoria was not convinced. Over the next few weeks, she watched helplessly as Brooklyn fully immersed himself in his new career. He trained in martial arts, parkour, high falls, and precision driving. He posted videos on social media of himself jumping off buildings onto crash pads and dodging explosions on a movie set. Each clip sent Victoria's anxiety soaring. One evening, as David scrolled through Instagram, he stopped at a clip of Brooklyn heading off the side of a moving truck. Bloody hell, David muttered, his grip tightening on his phone. Victoria, who had just walked into the room, gasped. What is wrong with him? She grabbed David's phone and immediately called Brooklyn. Enough is enough, she snapped when he answered. You are not doing this anymore. Brooklyn sighed. Mum, I love you, but you can't control my life. I'm your mother. Of course I can. David took the phone from her. Brooklyn, we need to talk. Come over. A father's concern. When Brooklyn arrived later that night, David sat him down in his home office, away from Victoria's furious glares. Son, he said, leaning forward, I won't lie. I'm scared for you. Stunts are no joke. Do you have a plan for this? Brooklyn nodded. I've already signed onto a major project, a Hollywood action film. David's stomach dropped. You're serious? Brooklyn grinned. Yeah, they want me for some of the toughest scenes. David rubbed his temples. He had spent years getting battered on the football field, but what Brooklyn was doing made even his worst injuries look mild. "Look," he said carefully, "I won't tell you what to do, but promise me, you'll be smart. Don't do something you can't walk away from." Brooklyn's expression softened. "I promise, Dad." Victoria's breaking point. Despite Brooklyn